everyone, and welcome to the NOVAcast. Adam Wiley joining me today, controls engineer at Nova Automation. Adam, thank you for joining me. Always good
Thanks,
to talk with you. This one's been a long time coming. I think we've been trying to schedule this since, I don't know, maybe Thanksgiving. So
of last year.
I appreciate you penciling me in, in between, in between teaching robots how to palletize boxes and cases and all that good stuff that you do out on the floor every day. So thanks for taking the time. Cool. Well, let's dive right in. One of the things that I always like about you is you're kind of like a Swiss Army knife. You help out in a lot of ways. You help me out a lot, which, obviously I'm not in Denver. So whenever I need something on the floor, you're a good guy to go to. But wanted to start with kind of how you got to Nova, your journey to one, being a controls engineer, maybe robotics in general. Just talk a little bit about how you ended up doing this.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. My wife and I moved from Denver to Columbia, Missouri for her job. And, I was trying to find a job and I couldn't find anything. Nobody was hiring. And I had been talking to a manufacturer out there who makes axles for the automotive industry for a maintenance position. And, nobody got back to me. And then I ended up getting a job at Men's Warehouse for about 6 weeks. And finally, I just had enough and decided, I was just going to walk in there and pretend that I was there to see somebody. And, said, oh, yeah, I need to talk to the maintenance manager, blah, blah, blah. And the lady was like, oh, yeah, let me call him in. And I kind of had like a small interview with him. And he just, turned around and was like, I don't think my team is what you're looking for, but the engineering team has an opening for a controls technician. And so he got me the contact info to the engineering manager, and I ended up getting an interview there. Didn't have any background with automation at all, and I was very truthful in that in the interview, mechanical engineering background, but not electrical, no robotics. So they gave me a laptop and kicked me onto the third shift production floor, and I kind of had to figure it out. So, automotive is a different beast. 7 days a week. There's like 3 holidays, 3 shifts. So it was definitely fast-paced environment. Downtime was big no-no. There are times that I was in the building for 24 plus hours trying to help get a machine back up and running with, the integrator and our maintenance team. And I think through those tough times, I ended up falling in love with what I do now. Right. And what automation is in all aspects, mechanical, electrical, robotics. So it's just kind of one of those funny things, I didn't think that I would get into automation, but it just kind of, I wanted a job, I went after it, and then, I ended up enjoying it. So that was all fun. And then we decided we wanted to move back to Colorado, and, Doug and Paul reached out to me on LinkedIn. And I wasn't really looking for a job at that time, but I thought I'd just, entertain the idea and come out and see what they were about. And, it felt like kind of a good fit, right? So, I ended up taking them up on it and starting out here on the service team.
That's awesome. So, I mean, the previous job you were talking about being in a, facility for 24 hours straight. Is that one of those things where you don't even realize what time it is? You're focused on solving that problem, and, you look up and hours have gone by.
Yeah. And I mean, as a tier 1 supplier to Ford and GM, it was, massive fines for downtime as a just-in-time manufacturer. So, every minute of downtime, I think if you were to quantify, was something ridiculous, like $500,000 or something, because that Ford plant is stopped. They can't make any more parts because your parts didn't make it to them on that last truck. So, it's all hands on deck. I think that time was 12 maintenance men, plant manager, the CEO of the company was on the phone. We had the CEO of the automation company on the phone. It was crazy. It was like DEFCON 1. So it was intense, but it was still fun. But yeah, I look at the watch and I'm like, oh crap, I've been here for 18 hours already. Oh crap. Wife was just used to it at that time. She was like, It is what it is. So, but yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, is there one instance too, maybe in that job where you're like, one problem that popped up that you solved and felt really great about? I mean, that was probably a really good opportunity for you to kind of go through and just attack problems, right? And there's pressure there too with the downtime. So, maybe if you didn't have that first job, is it, I'm sure it was like, call it a year or whatever that you were there, however long you were there. I'm sure it felt like 20 with all the experience you got, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was there for 2 years, and I think just hour wise over the course of those 2 years, on average, I was working like 70 to 80 hour weeks. So, I mean, that's 4 years experience in 2 years.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I think I worked 40 days straight when I first started there without a day off, weekends and everything on third shift. It was brutal, but, it was good, right? That's how you learn, right? Exposure, fast paced environment, into the deep end with concrete shoes. I had some good mentors though. Engineering manager was awesome, and the lead controls engineer was also really good. So I had good mentors as well. So but yeah, awesome. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Hats off to the guys in automotive.
So yeah, I mean, fast forward a little bit there, and then you join the service team here. I mean, another animal, right? Service in our industry is always difficult. Whether it's something that the customer did, whether like they hit the machine with a robot, or they messed with your programming, all those different things, right? You get out there and you got to try and figure out what the heck happened to the machine, how to get it running. So was that kind of a natural progression for you to come out of automotive and then meet with Doug and Paul and talk about joining our service team, and then to get out there and see, okay, this is just a different same thing, but you're just focused on solving problems to prevent downtime, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a learning curve, right? I mean, I came from a place where it was all standardized equipment, brand new, state of the art, everything was the same. And then, coming here, we've got machines that have been in the field for 20 plus years. And, I've had 3 owners and, people who've rewired the panel themselves that aren't electricians. And so, you end up with this crazy rat nest of a wiring job in the panel. So things like that, right, I wasn't accustomed to, right? So that was a learning curve for sure. Having to, kind of pivot in some instances, right? Some of these customer plants are remote. You don't have access to the hardware store or anything like that. So you have to kind of think on the fly, figure out how you're going to get things done with what you've got. So that was fun. The problem solving side of things was definitely, I enjoyed that, right? Yeah. Almost like MacGyver in a way.
Yeah, some of these places you're out in the middle of nowhere and like 2 hours from the nearest Lowe's probably. So.
Yep. Yeah. So.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, I mean, even in the field service role, right? You've worked on bagging equipment, you've worked on palletizers, you've worked on stretch wrappers, you name it, right? Conventional palletizers, robotic palletizers. So, what was that learning curve like for you when you came to Nova, right? And now you're, like you said, working on all sorts of different equipment. How we made a palletizer in 1997 is probably a lot different than how that palletizer is put together today. And like you said, 3 owners, kind of what was your process there to identify and, correct issues on equipment that, you didn't build. And then also, probably there aren't many people in our, facility today that probably built that piece of equipment that you're working on. So it's kind of hard to, Voight, I'm sure, was involved in all of it, but, what was that like? You're sort of out there on your own, right? Working all day, trying to get things running. So what was your process like to solving problems and getting things back up and running?
Call Voight. Yeah. When in doubt, it was call Voight. But yeah, no, it was, all of the equipment's, similar in application and process. So, those commonalities make it easy to diagnose. So our newest machine to our oldest machine still theoretically do the same task, but maybe in a different way. So it wasn't completely abstract in problem solving. I think the hardest part was just the program side. These older controllers, just they were state of the art then, and being, I don't want to say, I was just accustomed to the latest and greatest in my last job, right? Sure. Cutting edge, Ford and GM, right? Everything had to be a standard. And then coming in and, like I said, working on something that's 20 years old, right? It was state of the art then. But it's been dilapidated in the field for 20 years. Those were the harder problems to solve. So, sure. But yeah, like I said, when in doubt, it was call Voight and try and pick his brain, right? He's the the brainchild. So.
Yeah, and I think, too, on the sales side, I use that line quite a bit, right? Voight said we can do it. Or, let me ask Voight.
Yep. Well, he, funny enough, had a special fault in one of the machines that if something specific, like somebody specifically did something, it would populate on the screen and say, call Voight. So, if they really messed up the machine, it would like tell them, hey, you need to call me because you messed up my machine.
Oh, that's funny. I'll have to ask him about that one. Oh, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess, too, kudos to us for having stuff out there that's 20 years old that's still running, right? But
it's huge.
One of the things too that I've noticed, and this is coming up on 5 or 6 years for me here with Nova overall. The progression in our equipment, right? What we're shipping today versus what we shipped, even a couple years ago, right? So, we can go many different directions with this, right? We could talk about the form fill, where that's at versus where it's been, the NRP 200 or, the mobile palletizing cell, which is a new product for us. I guess not new anymore. Case packing, all these different things that we've done over the last, call it, 5 or 6 years. How cool has that been for you to see the progression in our equipment, right? I know you're directly involved in the new control system, NOVAsite, all those different things. So, talk a little bit about what that's been like for you to see, our equipment go from maybe when you started versus what we're shipping today.
No, I think we've made leaps and bounds. We've definitely got a good team now. Our controls team is stacked with good talent, and our service team is getting there as well. So, taking that feedback from what didn't work in the past or what could have been improved upon from our older machines, right? Striving to get a better machine every time, right? Because nothing's ever really perfect. And every customer has a different, thing or nuance about the machine that they either didn't like or did work or, so taking that feedback from the field and trying to roll that into our newest equipment. Simple things like having a PDF viewer on our touch screen. So, you can see electrical schematics and the sensor layout because, people lose the file, somebody emailed it, it got lost. So having it on the screen with the machine at all times, very simple application for us, right? And it's a huge value add. So small things like that to the larger things, right? Like looking at better safety devices, safety mitigation as far as helping the mechanical team design guarding, based on customer experiences. So, all those things being funneled back up from the customer to service into the engineering team, and then having the team that we have now kind of roll that back into our latest products. Like you said, even in the last 2 years, our machines have gotten better and better each time. So it's been awesome. So.
Yeah. And then too, the one thing too that I like about our stuff is, about our process, right? Is we're willing and able to adjust on the fly, right? The funny thing on the sales side is, we'll sell a project, right? And we've got the data collection from when we're going through the sales process, and maybe that was, 6 months ago, right? So then you're like, all right, I'm ready to send a PO, and oh, by the way, we have these 6 new products, 6 new case sizes. Oh, we threw an open top jar in there, same price, right? But that. It's funny, but also there's that moment, right, where it's like, okay, well, now people in the plant find out they're getting a robot, right? They're like, oh, can the robot do this? Can the robot do that? Oh, we should run this product through there. And with us being kind of vertically integrated, right, and doing everything in Denver from design to engineer to production, I think that gives us a huge advantage when we're talking to these customers, and we're still small enough, right, to have those conversations, right, where we're not going to say, hey, you know what, here's what we're shipping you. It's plug and play, right? Our stuff is nimble, and we've worked with a co-packer. I know you worked on that project quite a bit. That when we sold that versus when it shipped, the products were a lot different, and that's just the co-pack space, right? So, what is that like from a controls perspective to be able to have that power and intellectual power in house to go through and say, okay, we've got this new pattern, we've got this new case, but it's got to work. What's that kind of like for you guys?
Yeah. And I think it's kind of a culmination of a bunch of things, right? I mean, so my background in automotive, and then Sean's background in aviation, and then John has a background in like the bottling industry and canning industry. So like the three of us coming from different backgrounds together, we've seen different things. We have different applications. We've seen other automated equipment. We're able to combine all of our expertise together to solve those complex problems. And it makes it kind of easy, right? Yeah. I say that it's actually really difficult. This whiteboard behind me looks like Goodwill Hunting most of the time.
Yeah.
So
I always joke with Matt Stecco that one day he was in there just filling out, math problems and saying, I'm going to, oh, let me work here. Right. And now look at him. He's crushing it on the side. But yeah, I mean, it's great to talk with all you guys and to talk about the process, right? That's something that I, on the sales side, love to see when I come out there for whether it be an FAT or just for a visit, just to kind of see you and Sean out there with, just working your magic. It's always cool to see. Knowing that I was probably the source of a lot of your frustration for the 2 weeks of testing, right? If Joshua just got better data collection or, but yeah, and, to shift gears a little bit. So, we've worked on several things over the last, call it few years. I could think of a few projects, one where, we're picking a whole layer of ramen noodles, another where, we're like the mobile palletizing cell, right? Totally new product as of a couple of years ago, the case packing stuff, NOVAcast, you're very involved in all of that. Out of those couple of applications, what are some of the ones that maybe you're most proud of or, because you had a direct hand in all of it, right? Whether it's from, just being on the floor and helping people out or the actual controls piece. So what's kind of been your favorite part of those, let's call them product launches, right? Whether it be case packing, the modular palletizing cell, something like NOVAcast,
I think it's kind of a tie between three. It's a three-way tie. Our case packing with our vision pick and place, that one was fun. So we're using the 3D or the 2D camera to tell the robot where these bags are coming in on the conveyor. And then the robot tracks them through the conveyor to pick them up and put them in a box. That one was fun and definitely something we had never done as a business before. And that I had never done with my professional background. So it was a fun challenge to tackle. And ended up getting that to work really well. And then the next two are two of our bagging machines. So our open mouth bagger project I took on last year was the first one we built in a while. And it was new control system, new mechanical, everything was brand new. And that was kind of like my child. I was tucked away in the dark corner of the shop working on it for 3 months, trying to get it to where it needed to be to meet customer expectations. And it was just a fun R&D project to work on and get that thing off the ground. And then we've had two since then, so that's been nice. And then the next one is upgrading our kind of like our flagship machine, our form fill seal machine. The thing that kind of got this business rolling in general. That's Voight's child. So it's been fun to work on that one and improve upon it and add these upgraded devices to make it more user friendly. Run faster rates, more precision. So that one's been really fun as well.
Awesome. And then too, the one thing I want to talk a little bit about is, with you having experience on the service side and you being involved in NOVAcast, how big of a game changer that's been for, several of our customers, right? We've talked about this before. I've had you on some sales calls with me to kind of, get the, one of the main concerns on the sales side that I hear all the time is like, okay, you're in Denver, we're in Ohio, or you're in Denver, we're in Florida, right? What happens if we're down and I need you right there, right? And NOVAcast, we know, has done a great job of basically helping people FaceTime at a much higher level, right? Hands-free FaceTime, allowing to go back and forth, drawing on the viewfinder, stuff like that, all that good stuff. Just explain a little bit about what went through the process there and how I know you've done several of those calls. Maybe a few examples of how that is, one, saved customers from being down for days, right? Waiting for us to fly out there. And then two, maybe how it's helped even, bring new operators up to speed. Because that's kind of the two selling points that I use for it is, hey, if this prevents one trip, it's more than worth it. And then also too, if you got a new operator, it's, we don't have to come out and do training anymore. Maybe we can do it over NOVAcast. So,
the three, compare and contrast scenarios that I've had Novasite on with has been, one was a mechanical issue, one was an electrical issue, and then one was an operational issue. The first one, mechanical, customer had like a robot frame that they had supplied, and it was vibrating and it was causing issues on our end. So they had Novasite. So we got on a call with them. We got on a call with our engineering manager, mechanical engineering manager, and one of the other mechanical engineers, and walked us through like what he's seeing in real time. He was able to, reach out and grab things and show us. So the steel beam was loose, and needed some additional structural bracing. So in this call, everybody involved was able to hear from Denver what issues they had mechanically on that tube frame, and what was causing the vibration when the machine was actually running. And we were able to, draw on the screen and show him where we think he needs to add a cross brace. And then obviously he sent us some prints of it. We marked those back up and mailed them or emailed it back to him. And he was actually able to see that on his little reticle. So he could actually see on the print where we said, how high up, 6 inches off the ground, 2-inch square tubing, simple things like that. So that was a quick, easy fix where he didn't have to call out, a millwright company to come do it or a local structural engineering company. We were able to solve that problem really quick. And by the end of the day, they had their frame welded back up and it was back to being rigid. So that was a really quick, easy one. Electrical diagnostic, the gentleman opened the panel and was saying, the relay wasn't working. So we were able to point and highlight the wire that commands the relay to have him troubleshoot, and ultimately find out the PLC output card was fried on that port. So then we ended up just remapping that output, and then they were back up and running in 30 minutes. So
that's awesome.
And then the last cases, one, operational.
Right? You're preventing flights.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead on the last one.
Yeah. The last one, just operational. Somebody was having a bug on their touchscreen and they couldn't access the menu. And so we ended up finding a bug on our end that we fixed with the touchscreen to allow them to go into those pages under that certain circumstance. So it was a 5-minute call to solve a problem that, helped us fix other machines as well. So
yep. Awesome. All right. So now we'll talk about one of my favorite topics, right? We spent a lot of time together at trade shows. You're a great asset to me on the sales side when things get technical. I think
you're getting there. You know what a 10 millimeter socket is now.
Hey, the one thing that I always joke about is I can reset the robot, right? Send it back home. We'll get things back up and running. And even in the last trade show, what I like to do is just gather people around before I do that. That always seems to make people happy. So, big accomplishment for me, right? I'm not just a funny guy who takes people out to dinner.
No, you've made leaps and bounds. I have a picture of you and Paul helping set up the machine. You're getting there.
There we go.
We can trade one day. We'll switch jobs.
Yeah, that works. I've talked to Tyler about it too. I said, maybe I just do a day in the life as a service guy. Yeah. Send me out there and see what trouble I can get into.
And then we can use Novasite to fix all the problems you create.
Exactly. There we go. We just got to get a customer on board. That'd be a great piece of content. We'll do that for sure.
Yeah.
So trade shows. I mean, they've been a big part of our business here and our strategy really in the last several years. We've gotten the opportunity to exhibit with Kawasaki, a handful of times.
Yeah.
From Pack Expo 21 to ProMat to Pack X 23. I mean, we've gotten some great exposure out there, some great brand awareness. You've been a part of most of those. How cool is it for you? You've done so many different things at Nova to also see the sales side of things, and have those conversations with customers who are walking the floor trying to solve their problems. What's that been like for you to have the exposure at trade shows?
Yeah. It's been eye-opening, right? Everybody's problem is different, and for better or for worse. Some of them are problems that I don't think anybody has a solution for yet, right? Especially in recent years with the AI integration and, things like mixed palletizing. That's probably my favorite one that I always laugh at, just from an application perspective, that's the apex, right? That's where we want to get with automation. I think it's going to take a long time to get there for, people in particular like Home Depot, right? hey, I need a toilet, I need a spool of wire, I need a bag of mulch, and I need 12 bolts. It's like, well, one robot can't physically do all of those items on one pallet.
Sure.
So those types of ones, those are fun at trade shows to, listen to people talk about, what problem they're trying to solve and try and come up with how do you solve that problem? And if we don't have the solution, who might have that solution? But then, on the other side, you have this super easy one, where it's like they have one product, one pallet type, very easy application, our MPC, for example, perfect fit for that type of customer, right? Rapidly deployed, one pallet done, week of install, and they're ready to go. To the other side, where customers want to do a full warehousing, they want 17 robots, 100 conveyors, 16 stretch wrappers, like that type of integration, right? Really opens your eyes to all the different problems people have, right? Sure. So yeah, that's definitely been the fun one, and seeing the new technology that's out there, right? Walking the floor and seeing other vendors, other OEMs, robotics or sensors, the AMRs for moving pallets and product, just seeing all those new things and, using that as kind of inspiration on things that like we could integrate in the future to try and solve certain problems.
Yeah. I mean, PackX is always kind of the crazy one, right? You could be there for a week and still it's tough to walk the whole floor, right? Yeah. A lot of times when we're there, we're in the booth, but that's always a big one for me, right? Being able to walk that floor. And, you talk about the mixed pal stuff. Yeah, there are some partners out there that are doing it pretty well, but to your point, right? They're not doing a toilet and,
it has an applicational limit, right? It can be cases. We can,
sure,
put them all on the pallet, but if you're doing weird shaped objects, it's a whole different can of worms, right?
And I remember I had a guy too at ProMat who was like, I'm doing furniture. So, he's like, can we put, all these different pieces of furniture on there and how will it know? Right. And then there's the post office is looking for, people to put letters into bins, right? Based on all that kind of stuff. I remember that ProMat show was kind of an eye-opening one for me, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that we've never heard before. Because we're mostly dealing with those homogeneous pallets or, somebody doing the same bags of mulch or the same bags of salt or sugar. So yeah, that was a cool one for me. But also as far as like being able to talk to, people in the very beginning of the process, right? Versus where it comes from, I think is always cool too, right? And with our MPC, what always happens, or what happens quite a bit, is someone's like, oh, I saw this MPC at the show. This should work for what we're doing, right? And then you get the data collection. They're like, here's 40 SKUs. We're running 40 a minute. We need to pick 5 of it, whatever it might be, right? And then that, $200,000 project becomes a, $1 million project, right? And that's happened several times. There's a, that co-packer that we talked about earlier, right? That was an original MPC lead, right? And they're like, okay, well, I've got these 2 products. And then the next time you talk to them, they've got 12, and then they got 12 new ones. So, between that, and then there are some where we start with an MPC, right? And we can make modifications to our MPC. So sure, it's not, totally turnkey, right? You're not taking it right off the truck and plugging it in and it's going. But we can make some small adjustments to it, like one that just shipped, the goat milk one that we just did. That was a project that we started talking about in 2021 with that customer. And they just kept going back and forth and saying, okay, we've got this product, we're doing this now. We've only got this amount of room, but we might be moving. That kind of stuff is always cool. And that last MPC, I think you are part of that one, the goat milk one, where, we just palletize on one side. We were able to automate a little bit of pallet delivery for them and it fit into a really small footprint. That to me is just a testament to our team out in Denver, right? It's, we very easily could have said, oh no, when you get 4 more feet, give us a call. Right. But Voight, as you've seen him do, sitting there in the booth on his pad, drawing it up, talking to the guy, and says, oh, will this work? Yeah, I think that'll work. And, 3 years later they pull the trigger, which is nice. And that's the thing with what we do, right? It's not, you're not buying shoes. So I think that we do a good job, our team, or, our whole team, right? Of helping these customers with automation strategy and not so much just, hey, I want to buy a palletizer, right? It's like, okay, well, why do you want to buy a palletizer? Even certain conversations on the sales side that'll come in like, hey, I want a conventional palletizer because this robot doesn't work. And then you get down to the root of the problem. Well, maybe it's not the robot, right? So I always think that that's pretty fun to see in action. But yeah, I think, we're going to PAC this year again. I think it's your anniversary, so you may or may not be going. But we'll see. Might have to figure out how to get it done without you. But yeah, it's always fun. And then there's the other side of the trade show too, right? Is where you get to know the people that you work with outside of work a little bit. You get to know the vendors that we work with, whether it be the Kawasaki folks or Corey from IP Tech, just, who's also been on the show. But yeah, I think that's the fun part, right? Is, really getting to interact with people outside of a plant, right? It's easier to talk to somebody when you're, shooting darts or you're, just hanging out, eating dinner, right? It's always cool to get talking and you kind of go back and forth between talking shop and talking about, anything else that they like, right? So that's always cool. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit before I let you go about what Adam does outside of Nova. What are you into? I know you've got a garage, you've got a toddler, you've got, all sorts of lacrosse photos that you've probably photoshopped to make it look like you actually scored goals. Where do you want to go with this?
Yeah. Side note on the lacrosse stuff. Those are old.
Yeah.
Those are old. Yeah. I haven't played lacrosse in like 10 years.
We'll colorize some photos for you.
Yeah. I thought about playing a adult pickup league, but I don't think I don't want to break anything. I'm too old for that now.
I think especially after having kids, that's a really big thing for me, right? Like before I had kids, I would play slow pitch softball, pickup basketball, whatever, right? Whatever kind of intramural sport I could get myself into. But, once you have kids, you're like, okay, do I really want to play slow pitch softball where these guys have these $500 bats that just hit the ball so hard and you're pitching without anything in front of you, right? You're just seeing the ball whiz by your head. So that's a no. And then you're playing pickup basketball, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, this is great. But sometimes I know for me, it's hard to realize that this isn't game 7 of the finals. So, I would be playing noon ball or, whatever. So I would even wake up at like 5 in the morning, which is funny because I can't get up at 5 in the morning now. But if I was going to the Y to play basketball, I could do that. But then you're like, all right, am I going to really get in a fight with this guy over basketball at 5 in the morning at the YMCA? Is it that, that's just what it ended up turning into. I think with pickup basketball, and then, I played a lot of hockey too. And I always think like, okay, it'd be great to play hockey again, but same deal, right? You don't want to, the ice time that they give you for adult leagues is usually after 11 p.m. And, most of the guys have had, 55 beers before they even take the ice. So it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I got work in the morning, right? So now I try to run a little bit, I guess. And every once in a while, I'll shoot hoops. But yeah, that's the one thing I miss about, pre-kid life, right? Is, playing all the sports and stuff like that. So. But yeah, what are you getting into these days?
Just getting back into working on my project car. Now that my daughter's 2.5, she's mobile. She spends a lot of time out there in the garage with me. She knows all the parts of the engine, which is awesome.
Nice.
She knows some of the tools, which is good. So when I'm under the car, I'll be like, "Can you hand me the ratchet?" She hands me the ratchet.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. But no, that's been fun. It's been nice to get back to working on that, put that on pause. It's been a 12-year project now. So
what kind of car is it again?
It's a 2000 Audi A4. It was my first car that I got. It was $2,500. I got it with a loan from my grandmother,
nice.
With interest. So
with interest. Oh man.
Yeah. Grandma did me right.
Yeah.
Taught me a life lesson.
There you go.
Month into owning it, it blew up. The turbo grenaded. So I was paying payments still and had to save. This was junior year of high school. Had to, save to get a new motor, rebuilt it, put it back together, ran fine. And in that process ended up just falling in love with cars. Cause I wasn't really a car guy to begin with. Growing up, we had dirt bikes and stuff, but, cars to me were just, oh, hey, cool Lamborghini, oh, cool Porsche, like, oh, it's a car. And then it just snowballed into like actually becoming a car enthusiast and, knowing the engine types and all that type of stuff. So it's been fun, being from Colorado. Biggest goal of mine is to race Pikes Peak and do the Pikes Peak hill climb, since it's in the backyard. So that's really what this car's been built for.
Nice.
So since then it's sat in the garage and, done more engine work to it, bigger turbo, my radiators in my trunk, upgraded fuel cell. There's a hole in every panel of the car, for aerodynamics or exhaust. My exhaust comes out my back passenger door now. It's a crazy car. So
nice.
Yeah, it's essentially a salvage title now. But no, it's been fun. So yeah, hopefully end of summer, the goal is to have the roll cage finished, and then hopefully by next summer I can get it out racing. So
yeah. What's that like out there? So where I grew up, they had this, I think it was called like Great's Despair hill climb. And there's this one turn that they call like Devil's Elbow that just cars would just roll over all the time.
Yeah.
And I admittedly, I'm not much of a car guy. I've got a pretty sweet Toyota Highlander that every once in a while I throw in sport mode. Just to hear it purr a little bit, right? So yeah, I mean, I get excited about Apple CarPlay. That's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, what's that hill climb like? I mean, is that something is it dangerous out there?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's pretty dangerous. And you said Devil's Elbow. There's a place called Devil's Playground, and there's a corner where there's like an infamous crash of a Mitsubishi Evo that hits some rocks because it's paved.
Yeah.
There's just some pebble there, and he hits the rocks and slides off the edge, and he tumbles like 17 times, I think. But they both get out okay, both the driver and the co-driver, and they just get out and they're like, yeah. But no, it's pretty dangerous. I think more people have crashed since they paved the road to the top of the peak than when the hill climb, because it's 100. I think this is the 102nd year of the hill climb. Oh, so wow. Pretty much since the invention of the automobile, people have been driving and racing cars up that mountain. But it used to be dirt all the way up there, so less people died when it was dirt than now when it's paved, because you can go faster now, right?
Yeah.
Get better traction. So, but yeah, it's a pretty sweet race,
And that's an aspiration of yours, to do this race?
Yeah. It's invitation only. So you have to get your racing license and then get invited, and you have to pay to be invited. You have to like register, and I think the registration fee is like $10K.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, it's like I said, it's a long-term goal.
Yeah, sure.
So
what's that? So you're going to get it racing. What do you mean by that? You're just going to start doing like smaller hill climbs? Or you're going to start racing?
Yeah, you can do
like
small hill climbs. I mean, the car really is a track attack car, so it can do hill climbs and, any type of grid race. So it's got, downforce, there's a giant wing on there.
Nice.
Everybody laughs at, but it's huge, right? A lot of downforce there. Everything else, bodywork, stuff like that. I've actually got a little model here. Somebody made me of it.
Oh, nice.
And then because my exhaust comes out the door, somebody put a little macaroni. So one of my buddies got me that. So, but yeah, no, that's the ultimate goal. I think if I wasn't doing automation, I would pursue a full-time, automotive racing career probably.
Yeah.
But I enjoy this a little bit too much.
Yeah, sure. It's probably both have, their own unique challenges, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the racing thing is cool. I didn't know that about you. I knew you were working on cars and stuff. I didn't know you were going to race it up a hill. Just make sure you do that like after, all my big projects are in good spots. I've got a couple big ones on the way. So, let's make sure we get those ones all settled before you go climbing, Penns Peak on me here. So what else do you do? I mean, what's toddler life like?
Man, we're potty training right now.
You're potty training. Nice.
Oh yeah. We're a weekend and it's been decent.
Yeah. My son's school, they do that at school. Right now we're not really trying to do it at home because we've also got, a 6-month-old, almost 6-month-old. So it is kind of cool because they'll post like, hey, Charlie did it, right? Or, whatever.
Yeah.
But, I don't think he's very consistent at it yet.
But she's getting there. It's been a week. She's picked it up pretty quick, I feel like. She'll just be like, hey, I have to go to the bathroom. And you're like, well, okay. right? You're like, all right, let's go.
There you go.
But yeah, that's been fun. Toddler life kid loves to do everything. We've got a little hockey rink that my brother got her for her birthday.
Oh,
so
nice.
It comes with like a little foam ball and two little shorty sticks and a net.
Yeah.
And that's in our basement. So when we're working out in the evenings, she's down there playing hockey, which is funny. But the way she holds it is not right.
Oh, yeah.
She just like whacks it. And then it goes in the goal and she goes, go. So she might end up playing hockey, which would be totally awesome.
Yeah.
And then we're over our Bluey phase.
Oh, no. Bluey was a good one.
She'll watch Bluey every once in a while, but we're out of Bluey. We're on to PJ Masks. And
they grow up so fast, man.
Yeah, which that one's super annoying. I don't like that show at all. I liked Bluey much more.
Yeah, Bluey. I think Bluey was more for the adults.
Oh, yeah. There's so much adult humor there.
Yeah.
I think what was it, Whale Watching? Is that the one? There's one where the parents come home and you can totally tell that it was like New Year's Eve. They were drunk. Yeah. And they just wanted nothing to do with the kids. So they just laid on the couch and ate chips.
Yep.
And like the kids would never know that that's what that's about. But, as an adult, you see that and you just start laughing because you know exactly what's going on.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, so.
Yeah, we're into, in this house, the 2.5-year-old is really into hockey as well.
Nice.
We took him to a Penguins game. His first game was Penguins and the Capitals, so Crosby and Ovechkin. That was pretty cool.
You got to see Ovi, nice.
Well, it was funny. I mean, it was in Pittsburgh, and the Capitals won like 8-0. It was a pretty terrible game, but he was like so amped up about it. And same thing, he's got the little hockey stick. He's really big on it. And he's also really into Mighty Ducks, which my wife is not too happy about because there's a little bit of violence in it, that I didn't really think of when I was a kid. I probably watched all of them a million times, but I was also probably like, I don't know, 10 maybe when I first started. Yeah. So 2.5 might be a little bit young. But talk about a redemption story. I mean, Gordon Bombay, right? So trying to teach him, about those lessons early, right? So he's into that. He's really into golf.
Nice.
Throws right-handed, swings left-handed, just like me. At least that's what it seems like so far. So the left-handed golf clubs will be fun when he gets into that. But yeah, and then the 6-month-old. I mean, it's just like they're two totally different kids, right? The 2.5-year-old was the easiest baby in the world, and then this one just the youngest does not sleep. Like last night, for example, he was up at 11, 1, 4. The dog had to pee at 3. So it's like, just eventually we'll probably get some sleep again, which, hopefully you're past that stage, right? She's sleeping through the night for the most part.
Yeah, she wakes up at like 1 a.m. to come into our room. I don't know if she's sleepwalking or what, but I end up having to like wake up, grab her, go put her back in her bed, make sure she falls asleep, then get back in my bed.
Yeah. There's a little bit of that.
But she sleeps pretty well. I think you and I are both kind of similar. My daughter was really easy.
Yeah.
Charlie was really easy for you.
Yeah.
I think one of my friends said that's called a sucker baby.
Yeah.
Because it suckers you into having another one, and then your second one is a demon.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the second one has been tough for sure.
Yeah. Life's like that. It's about checks and balances. You can't have it be great all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And I just keep telling myself like, just a phase, right? And you got to remind yourself that in the middle of the night. Sometimes that's what I'm not as great as that as my wife is.
Yeah.
Because I'll be like, oh, what the heck? Like, come on, man. And she's like, just relax.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm the same way, right? It's like we had one. We're like, yeah, he's super easy. Let's have 5 more. I was an only child, so I always think about like the big Christmas and stuff like that we could have, right? That's kind of the one we're in. And hopefully we do a good enough job where they still like us when we're adults. That's what I look forward to. Not to rush, certainly not to rush them growing up, but yeah. What else you got? You got anything else before we head out?
No.
You got to get back out on the floor. Sean's probably waiting on you.
Yeah, the other guys are out there working on the next 2 projects. So
we got a pretty cool bag NPC coming. So that'll be good. We'll get video of that. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then hopefully some big projects to come.
Yeah, we've got our latest and greatest full bagging mulch line out on the floor right now.
Yeah.
Form fill, robotic palletizer, and overhead wrapper. All updated, all the fancy bells and whistles. So
quick YouTube plug. Riley will be out there to get some video of that today. So.
Oh, sweet.
So, yeah, check out our YouTube. Riley's been doing a great job. You've gotten to know Riley a little bit.
Yeah.
It's nice having somebody out in Denver who can come take video all the time. Because, you know.
Yeah, when are you guys moving out here?
Huh? Oh, yeah.
When's that happening? Come on,
You're going to have to ask my wife. So,
yeah.
I don't think she's going to leave the East Coast. But, yeah, I love Denver. I'll be out there soon enough.
Yeah.
You know, so always a good time when I'm out there. But, yeah. Well, thanks for jumping on. This was fun. We'll do it again. I was telling Paul next time I'm out there, me, you, and him, maybe Voight will sit down. We'll do a big podcast. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So
yeah, like I said, sorry for taking so long. We talked about this Thanksgiving, and then it got pushed back, and then pushed back, and then pushed back. And you're like, hey, we doing it next week? Oh man, I'm out of town. Hey, we doing it next week? Oh, I'm out of town.
Isn't it funny though how just like life in general just moves so fast now? It's like you loosely talk about something in Thanksgiving, and then before you know it, it's July. So
yeah, my grandpa has an old adage that he always used to say. He's like, life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes.
Oh, I like that one.
So some good old Southern wisdom.
There you go. Cool, man. Well, we'll do this again. Thanks for jumping on, and we'll talk to you next time.
Awesome. Thanks,
All
Josh.
right. Thanks, man. That was NOVAcast. Check out the next episode here in the next couple weeks. Could be 2 weeks, could be a month, who knows. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.